Welcome to the G-Cloud 13 Buyer webinar. We're going to take you through how to use the agreement and also do a live demo so you can see for yourself how easy it is to access the platform. This slide is showing the team. Now, at the end of this slide deck, the very last slide does contain email contacts. So if you have questions after seeing this, please use the email addresses that are provided. But these are the people that will be able to help you at any point. So what we're going through is the contract award service. This is the platform that G-Cloud 13 sits on. There'll be a few slides about how to register to use the new platform because you do need to have a sign-on. We'll also give a little bit of an overview and background of G-Cloud in general, and also the differences between G-Cloud and digital outcomes and specialists. Then we'll go through the buying process, hierarchy of terms, a few considerations that need to be made before you put pen to paper. And then there's a few slides on supplier obligations. So if suppliers are watching this, it will be useful for them, but also it's useful for buyers to know what suppliers need to be aware of too. So the Public Procurement Gateway, otherwise known as PPG, this is what you need to register for so that you can access the contract award service. Now, I've given links on this slide. I urge you to read the guidance, and if your organisation hasn't already done so, please register. If you're the first one to register for your organisation, it will automatically make you the administrator, but really you need more than one, because if you're away or you leave or long-term sick or something, other people will get a bit frustrated if they need to join. Obviously, larger organisations, big government departments would need to have multiple administrators to help. So, as I say, please read the guidance, make sure you get registered, because otherwise you will not be able to access G-Cloud 13. So just a little bit of background. What is G-Cloud all about? It's for off-the-shelf cloud-based services. It must be cloud-based. That's the crux of it all. A lot of it is pay-as-you-go. Now, currently, we have over 5,000 suppliers and over 40,000 services. Those services are spread across 3 lots, which we'll come on to a bit later. We're still around the 90% mark for the suppliers being SMEs on this agreement. And since it began in 2012, it's done nearly £14 billion worth of spend. And historically, nearly 40% of that is going to SMEs. So what can you buy? As I said, it's spread across 3 lots. However, you'll see there's a lot 4 here, but it should become clearer. So Lot 1 is cloud hosting, so that's your server or storage in the cloud. Lot 2 is cloud software. There is plenty of different software as a service available to fit most requirements. Lot 3 is cloud support. Now, this is kind of the people element of G-Cloud, where you would use a supplier to provide services that will help you maybe transition to the cloud. Maybe you need help with configuration or implementation for a cloud service, one that you might already have. But typically, it would be helping you with cloud services that you would find in lots 1 and 2, even though you may not be, buying those at the same time. Now, those 3 lots are all under G-Cloud 13 for a direct award. Lot 4 has recently been introduced and is slightly separate in as much as, although it is cloud support, it is further competition only. But it's for the same type of services, but it is limited to 41 suppliers. And the reason for this is introducing further competition. It was deemed would be a better route for customers for higher value contracts. So although you'll see against Lot 3 recommended for contract values of 250,000 or less, that is only advisory guidance. It is not mandated anywhere. So if you feel that Lot 3 is the right route for you, then nobody is going to be stopping you, because there is nothing to stop you. But if you want to do a direct award, it would be Lot 3. So hopefully that has cleared things up. So just a quick slide on the differences between DOS and G-Cloud. So G-Cloud, as I said before, is for your off-the-shelf or utility cloud services. As I said, a lot of pay-as-you-go, whereas Digital Outcomes and Specialists is used for bespoke services, i.e. if you want something designed specifically for you, you can't buy off the shelf, then you would go to DOS. G-Cloud uses a contract award or a direct award, but this is after you have followed the buying process, whereas DOS uses a further competition. Also, G-Cloud uses supplier terms and conditions. There are caveats to that, which I'll come on to a little later on, whereas DOS uses government T's and C's. And because there should be no design or development work within G-Cloud, supplier IPR and source codes shouldn't raise issues. Whereas if you're paying for something to be built specifically for you, that'll be a different matter. So really, just to reiterate, there is no agile development. It's configuration only in G-Cloud. If you need development, please use DOS. So why use G-Cloud? It's an easy route to market for these cloud-based solutions. It stops the need for a lengthy tender process, which it's time and it's money. There's a huge choice of solution across those 3 lots. And as I say, Lot 4 has become live now. So you can use that if you've got a higher, more complex requirement. And because G-Cloud is refreshed fairly regularly, you've always got access to new technology. And currently it's averaging around about 13% lower in cost compared against its market comparisons. So when not to use G-Cloud, any of these services, so co-location services, for instance, are out of scope for G-Cloud. See the appropriate agreement, which is Crown Hosting. Also, non-cloud related services, i.e. consultancy, don't use it just for that. If you've got a consultant, it's got to be for a specific piece of work, like helping you migrate or transition to the cloud, helping you with configuration work or something. It cannot just be consultancy or indeed interim labour. Bespoke design and development, we just touched on, that is out of scope, as is hardware. The only caveat to or exception for hardware is if it is absolutely intrinsic to the software solution. Recruitment, that is well and truly out of scope. It's got to be support relating to the cloud, not for the provision of staff or interims. And if you want further competition, unless you're using Lot 4, further competition is not permitted. And if you want longer contracts, G-Cloud is very specific in the term of the contract. And this is because cloud services are refreshed rapidly. They're always changing. Why would you want to be locked in to a long-term agreement. But if you do, please look at other frameworks. So where is it hosted? For any of you that have used gCloud in the past, you would have been very familiar with the digital marketplace. This has now changed and it's now on the contract award service. But the good news is once you are on there, then it's very, very similar to what you were always used to. Now, currently, CAS, the Contract Award Service, hosts 3 frameworks, one being gCloud, one being Digital Outcomes and Specialists, DOS, and the other being Management Consultancy Framework 3. So when you go to access this, if you're looking for gCloud 13, instead of going to the digital marketplace, you will go to our website and you will find a page similar to this. Now, if you've already got a PPG account, great. You just go to the top right-hand corner and you sign in. If you haven't, you need to create an account and start now and follow the instructions. Excuse me. So before we go on to the live demo, I will just give you a run through of the actual 6-step buying process. Now, this is all laid out in the customer guidance, which you can find on the CCS webpage under gCloud 13. But number 1 might sound very simple, but it's prepare requirements. And I say that because it really does depend on what you're looking for. Some requirements are going to take a little bit more thought and thinking about what keywords you will use and different terminology. It works very much like the Argos catalogue or Amazon, where you have got a search box and you will put your keywords in. And we urge you just have a play about with the different terminology to see what you can come up with. Also, if it's not just going to be one words, single words, and it's more of a phrase, let's say workflow management, because this is the example I will give in the demonstration. By using double quotation marks, that will look for the exact phrase. And so instead of looking for workflow and the word management in isolation, it will look for workflow management. So step 1 is prepare the requirements. Step 2 is enter keywords to start that search to create a long list. And as I say, use double quotations, use the plus sign or the minus sign with various words. There's no magic number as to how many would be in a long search or a long list, because it will really depend on what you're searching for. But whatever you've got, you want to get to a manageable short list. And to do this, you'll then utilize categories and filters to reach this. Once you've got to a short list that you're happy with, you then start the evaluation. CCS suggests in the guidance using the MEET criteria, but the scoring and weighting is absolutely up to you as the buyer. During evaluation, you will be looking at each and every one of those shortlisted services and all the details that is contained on the platform. That information is provided by the supplier. So you will see what it's called, the short description. You'll see all the supporting evidence that goes with it, you know, support, certifications, etc. But along with this, you will also see their price list, their service definition document, their terms and conditions document. They are the 3 mandatory documents that suppliers have to provide. You might also see their supplier rate card and maybe a modern slavery statement. Now, during the evaluation, you may think, well, actually, that hasn't given me all the information. So you need to contact those suppliers and ask them, seek clarification. The details to do that, again, are on the same, exactly the same place as you'll find everything else. So please ask the suppliers for information about that service. Do not negotiate, do not try and change terms, and only ask questions around that service, not about what else that supplier can do, because you can only buy what is on G-Cloud if you're going to do it compliantly. Now, once you've got to the point of you've done your evaluation, you've got to the point of selecting the service that best fits your needs. To award the contract, it is simply the completion of the G-Cloud 13 call-off contract. The onus is on you, the buyer, to do this because it is written in favour of the buyer. But once it's complete, it will be signed by both you and the supplier. The term of contract will be an initial term of anything up to 36 months, followed by one optional extension of up to 12 months. And then the last bit in the steps is the customer benefit record. This is there's a link that will take you to a little survey, and it won't ask you for anything that you haven't put in your call-off contract, but basically who you are, what have you bought, who the supplier was, you know, for how much, and actually if it replaced an existing service, did it represent or give you any discounts or savings. So on to the live demo. So assuming you've signed in and got your PPG login, this is where you will sign in. And then you will select Contract Award Service. And then choose a commercial agreement. As I said, there's 3 on there currently. So when you click on this link, it will take you to the 3. So as you can see, the Management Consultancy Framework, Digital Outcomes, and G-Cloud 13. Click on that and then click on Find Cloud Hosting, Software and Support. And then for those of you that have used this in the past, it will start to look very familiar. But one of the changes that you didn't have on the digital marketplace, near the top of this screen, you'll see a generated project ID or name. That's just auto-generated. But you can come down and you can name it to something maybe more appropriate. That's entirely up to you. And once you've used this a few times, you can have a look at any saved searches that you've done. So let's start a new search. And now you can either choose a lot or you can choose all categories. Save and continue. And then, as I said, if you used it in the past, you'll think, oh, actually, what's changed? So we're going to use workflow management. And you'll see there's 5,000 odd suppliers or services, which far too many. But by adding double quotations before the word workflow and after management, it will straight away bring it down to 178. Obviously, still far too many. But this is now when you can start filtering down. So we'll click on Cloud Software. And then we will go to Electronic Document and Records Management. And then we can start applying filters. So if we go to metrics reporting, we wanted API access and real-time dashboards. where is it? Supplier type was not a reseller. The user authentication, two-factor authentication. And using the service email or online user support, sorry. Yeah. And I think you'll find that will bring us to, oh, we've only got 5 results. So that is more than manageable. Now, anything that you see in bold is what you have used as your search criteria. So, you know, that will be saved. But you're now at the stage you need to evaluate. So you will go into each one of these 5 services. So we'll pick on the first one. What you'll see is the name of the supplier, the name of their service in bold. Underneath that is what we call the short description. Now they're limited to a word count, hence why we made it mandatory for them to provide a service definition document, because it was then their chance to give a buyer as much detail about their service as possible. So with the thought being it would help buyers, you know, if they can have the information here, they don't have to keep going back to the supplier. But just be mindful, the information in there is only as good as the supplier has provided. So under the short description, you then got the features and the benefits. This is all what has been used in the search mechanism. And then under that, you've got supporting evidence of on and off boarding, using the service. If you want to know about certifications, let's say Cyber Essentials, for instance, if you come down, we eventually get there. It's under certification, security and certifications. I think there we go, standards certifications, and that's where it will give you what they've got in the way of certifications. Anything you're unsure about, obviously you can ask them. And as we scroll back up, you'll see. Oh, and also, sorry, for G-Cloud 13. Social value had to be included. Now, be mindful, this was not evaluated at framework level because we just couldn't do that for 5,000 odd suppliers. So it was suppliers had to include something within that application. Now, they were asked, and it was mandated, they had to support at least one of the themes. Now, in the one we're seeing here, they've put a bit of blurb against everything. I've seen others where they have only selected one. Now that may not be the information you specifically need to meet your objectives for social value, but it is a starting point, and you will have to seek clarification for further information on this during the evaluation process. Now, if we scroll back up, you will see then all their documents. So as I said, pricing document, they've got a Sapphire rate card for the day rates, service definition, terms and conditions, and they have a modern slavery statement. So it's all here. And then as you come down, you've got the contact details, telephone number and email of that supplier. So that in a nutshell is how you search on the platform. So we'll go back to the slides. So now you've seen the services that you want, maybe you've done your evaluation, but before you put pen to paper, just a few things to take into consideration. 1, limits of liabilities. There's a little bit of guidance on the call off, but it has to be down to you, the buyer, to make sure things are adequate for you. Generally speaking, I think they are, but there are always going to be exceptions. But it's down to you. We can't make that decision for you. I've got here about due diligence around the financial status of suppliers. Now, we know when the framework goes live that all the suppliers are up and running and solvent, but we don't know what happens tomorrow, next week, next month, etc. So what we have in place is we have Dun and Bradstreet alerts. Now, I know it's always going to be in the past and there's nothing we can do about that, but we are alerted to any change in score of any of our suppliers, actually whether it's up or down. But if a supplier reaches a score of 10 or below, it will trigger us to suspend them and ask them to explain why they've got a drop in score. It could be something as simple as late filing of accounts with Companies House, but equally it could be something a bit more sinister, you know, that they are going out of business. We'll also try and monitor trends of suppliers that are steadily dropping, but it won't hurt you as a buyer to do your own due diligence on this as well. I've got about product and service life cycle or end of life. It's only happened once, but we had a case where a supplier withdrew support on a service kind of midway through a contract. Now, it's not good, but there's not much we can do about it. So I would just urge you to just check at the front end before you sign that they haven't got any intention of getting rid of that service. Early termination. On the call off, it says a buyer can give 30 days notice, terminate without cause. But from a supplier's point of view, they could seek to recoup unavoidable costs, you know, if they've incurred them. Although the guidance does say they've got to try all other avenues, you know, insurance, etc. But again, it wouldn't hurt to ask so that, you know, there's no nasty surprises. We've got about payment terms. We'd love everything to be in arrears, but in the real world, there are a lot that you need to pay for in advance. That's fine, but just be mindful of the fact that you're not doing too much in advance, like the whole contract. Additional buyer terms. If you've got anything very specific, not your entire organisation's T's and C's, but something specific that isn't covered in the call-off agreement or in supplier terms that is very pertinent to you, you will put that in the buyer additional terms. And then I've got here terms, example, length of contract. As I said a few slides ago, it's very clear that it is an initial term of up to 36 months. So anything from 1 to 36, assuming the supplier can accommodate that. And there is only one optional extension now, and that's anything up to 12 months. So overall, it still hasn't gone beyond the 48 months. And just consider maybe other routes to market if any of the above don't sit comfortably with you. So just a couple of top tips. Make sure you prepare your requirements, because the more meaningful the information going in the front end will hopefully give you better results coming out of the other. Keep an audit trail for compliance. It's twofold really. One, for compliance, because what you don't want is a disgruntled supplier coming after you to say they feel they've been treated unfairly. So that audit trail will actually just be, you know, proof and evidence and justification for how you chose the one you did to award to. But also, by retaining that, keeping that kind of thing along with your search criteria, 2, 3, 4 years goes past very, very quickly. If your requirements haven't really changed, don't reinvent the wheel, use what you've already got. Engage with suppliers. Like I said, we've got over 5,000 suppliers. A lot of them many will not ever get any business from G-Cloud, but it's, if they're not on it, they won't get it. So, you know, they're trying very hard. So it would be good if they're not successful, just to give them a little bit of feedback as to why, because that might help them improve in the future. Please review the supplier T's and C's. This should be everything about the supplier delivering that service to you, all the commercial aspects. If there's any conflict between supplier terms and the call-off terms, or indeed framework terms, the call-off and framework will take precedence. So for instance, if they say termination is 90 days, doesn't matter, because in the call-off it says 30. Always check the scope of the service. Again, with 40,000, it's very hard for us to, well, we can't check each and every one. But if you see something that is blatantly out of scope, please tell us, we will investigate. I've got try before you buy. There is a filter for a free trial, if you so wish. Some suppliers offer it, some don't. But even if they don't, there's no harm in you asking them for a demonstration. Just be mindful, if you want to score that demonstration, it must be in your award criteria. And if you're unsure of anything, get in touch with us. So the hierarchy of terms, as I said, although it uses the supplier terms, as you can see, they sit firmly on the bottom. The call-off contract, which is made up of Part A, the order form, and Part B, the terms, will sit above this. And out of interest, Part A, the order form, will take precedence over Part B, hence why additional buyer terms are in Part A. And then overriding the whole thing is the framework agreement. So what's new? Doesn't feel very new anymore, because we've been going since November. But what changed from like G-Cloud 12 and previously was the new initial term of up to 36 months, but only one optional extension of up to 12. The introduction of Lot 4, further competition only, and there is separate customer guidance for that on the website, and the links are below to both Lots 1 to 3 and Lot 4. It's a start of the improved buyer journey. What that will entail as the future goes on, we will have to wait and see. But if you want any guidance, as I say, it's all there on the web pages. Just a little bit on the Lot 4 though, further competition only. With both Lots 3 and Lots 4, there are 6 categories that suppliers have to be able to meet. Now in Lot 3, so these categories are like your cloud migration, your security services, ongoing support, etc. On Lot 3, any supplier could apply for just one of those elements. With Lot 4, suppliers had to be able to meet all 6 of them, even though you may not want them all at the same time. They had to be able to offer that end-to-end service. As I said, it was limited to 41 suppliers, but otherwise the scope of the services is as Lot 3. Absolutely, a direct award will not be permitted in Lot 4, and it was introduced to or intended for the larger, more complex requirements, which are more likely to be higher value. So really, this is just moving on. We've got all the guidance there. It does use the public sector contract as opposed to the bespoke call-off contract we have for Lots 1 and 3. Social value was included at framework level, and it includes things like your prompt payment, etc. The term of the contract is still the same as the rest of G-Cloud, so it is 36 months with an optional 12-month extension. And because social value was evaluated at framework level, that was all included. So you can evaluate on quality and that. And again, there's the guidance link. So getting near the end now, this is just a few slides just on supplier obligations and some of the questions we get from them. So supplier rate cards, when a supplier applies to be on the framework, they are given a template for the day rates. Now, we don't dictate what they've got to put in as rates. That's solely up to them. The bit that they shouldn't be changing is this information. And I mean, they can change the working day. So, you know, maybe it's not 8 hours, or maybe they're not doing 9 till 5. It might be 8 till 4 or something. But other bits must not be, so include, you know, where it's travel and subsistence must not be messed about with. And if it's brought to our attention, we will be contacting those suppliers. Now, this is a question we get asked on a daily basis. How does the supplier amend their pricing? It's not possible for them to increase the price during the lifetime of the framework. What is there stays. However, they can reduce it if they want. Now, whether this is a permanent reduction or a time limited offer, we don't mind. All we ask them is that they send us through a copy of the revised document, making it very clear with track changes what they have changed, and if it's time limited, what time period does that offer run from and to. And we will update their service offering very, very quickly. I've included the email address that they need to write to us on. But what mustn't happen is a supplier cannot offer you as a buyer individual discounts. It does have to be available to all. It must be published on the. And management information reporting. Suppliers do have an obligation to submit on a monthly basis any business that they've done. Having said that, they're also, they do need to report if they haven't done any business. And that's a very simple exercise. So they may not do business on a monthly basis, but we need to know, because if they don't, we will suspend them. Supplier assurance. So what we don't want to see are non-cloud related services like your recruiters, your co-location, development, etc. Onerous terms from suppliers, especially around a mandatory length of a contract. Now, hopefully, we've addressed that with it being an initial term of up to 36 months, because there was a lot of software providers that were putting a minimum term of 3 years because they could offer a better term, and they didn't always like a 2+1. We don't want to see unclear pricing or price on application or pricing from. It should be clear so a buyer can go on there and take a reasonable guess at what they're going to be paying for a service without having to contact the supplier. Not reporting monthly MI is an absolute no-no, and we don't want to see service definition documents for pricing. And really, seeing any of those of the above can lead to the suspension from the framework. And this is the very last one before we take questions. If you had or have got a good news story about a cloud service, cloud procurement, whether you're a buyer or a supplier, please tell us, because we often get asked for case studies, you know, other customers, maybe in the same sector as yourselves. They're always happy to hear if somebody else has done it. So if you've got anything to share, please get in touch, and we can sort something out. So thank you for listening. We'll move on to some questions?
Question 1. Is there a recommended maximum contract value for using lots 1 and 2 and 3?
No, what we've said is the recommended, well, we've put the recommended value shouldn't exceed 250,000. However, this is guidance only. It is not mandatory. So you can use lots 1 to 3 with a higher value. It's just the guidance is there just to give you a nudge and help you think before just doing a direct award on a very large high value contract.
Can I confirm the direct award? This is only possible if you go through the buying process and only one supplier is identified as a result of the inputs.
So G-Cloud is classed as direct award, even though you have to follow the buying process outlined in the guidance. If, however, you have carried out your extensive search and used the categories and filters and you only have one supplier, if this supplier fits your bill, then you do not need to carry out an evaluation as there is no one else to evaluate with.
We identified a few suppliers offering for our requirements. Could we ask clarification questions before keyword search, or clarification queries can be raised only after keyword suppliers?
I'm not sure that you can have a knowledge of who the suppliers are until you've carried out your search. Once you've carried out your search, used the filters and got your shortlist, this is the time to ask the clarification questions.
How does one refine one's search on the system by adding more keywords, phrases before applying filters?
So have a look at the guidance as it will detail to you how to put in maybe a plus sign. This will all help with searching and narrowing down.
On the CAS dashboard, what is required to effect a change in status from in progress to awarded?
We're looking into this, but I don't think it will happen because currently you're not doing the full end-to-end procurement on there. So because the call off is done offline, there is nothing there to kind of press and say you've done it, because there'd be nothing actually to prove it.
Identified only one supplier, so considering direct award under lot 2. However, I noticed price and suppliers' T's and C's are less favourable than approaching the supplier directly. Can I ask them to change the ones under the G-Cloud framework?
You cannot negotiate on price or suppliers' terms and conditions. They cannot be amended. It's there in the suppliers are aware that T's and C's have to be there for the life of the framework. Suppliers can put a time limited discount or permanent discount on their prices by getting in touch with us. But if there is a clash in the terms, you can make this clear that the call off order form and framework agreement will take precedence.
I understand that pricing can't be negotiated, but suppliers don't cost their products services in a consistent manner. So is it okay to ask providers to clarify their costings in a template that allow us to compare like for like costs?
Yes, this can be done as long as you keep an audit trail.
Is there still an option to export the filtered results so that we are able to see it all in one place and also keep for records?
Am I? Oh, sorry. Yes, you can save your search and export this.
If the supplier meets your requirements but has 3 entries on your search, can you consider them in your shortlisting, or do they have to list all your requirements in one search?
So you can hold multiple searches, and it's best practice to do so. For example, e-sourcing with a hyphen, e-sourcing without it, or e-procurement, etc., e-tendering. may all be the same. However, a supplier may word it differently. As I said, hyphen, no hyphen. Is there a gap? Isn't there a gap? You will still need to evaluate on all shortlisted suppliers. However, if one supplier comes up 3 times, please just evaluate the once.
What are the T's and C's precedents, please, i.e. suppliers, call-off orders and framework? Thank you.
Okay, I did just show this on the slide. So the very top one is the framework agreement. Number 2 is the call-off contract, which is made up of Part A and Part B. And Part A of the call-off takes precedence over Part B. And then the call-off, the supplier's terms will sit underneath that.
Do you undertake annual financial and insurance checks on suppliers?
So we check the supplier's Dun & Bradstreet scores at framework level to ensure the supplier has a failure score of 10 and above. We also have alerts from Dun & Bradstreet that inform us if this drops, which we monitor whilst the framework is live. If the score drops below 10, we will get in touch with the supplier to find out why. We're most likely going to suspend the supplier until they have proven they are not in liquidation or in financial distress.
13. Is there a way for suppliers to market themselves to buyers? How can an SME supplier set themselves apart? Thanks.
Suppliers need to make sure their short description and features and benefits describe what they are selling correctly. Maybe look at other suppliers who offer the same or comparable as themselves and see what wording they use. Please don't just copy and paste, otherwise that other supplier will be after you, but it might just give you a few ideas of how they can make it a bit more attractive.
At what stage can you invite suppliers for demonstrations?
Demonstrations can be asked at shortlisting stage, but please bear in mind if you request a demonstration for a supplier, then this can only be scored if you have evidenced this as a mandatory requirement and stated this in the award criteria. All shortlisted suppliers must be given the opportunity to demonstrate.
Could you please show us how to retrieve the G-Cloud contract reference number that needs to be added to the contract document? Thank you.
So the contract reference is what the buyer wishes to use. However, I think you're probably talking about the service ID, which is a unique identifier for every service on the platform. And that is located at the right-hand side of the supplier's offering, just underneath all their pricing and terms documents.
What are the inbuilt liabilities and insurances? Who set them? Presumably enough to cover NHS GovOrgs for worst case scenarios.
The input liabilities and insurances, we receive guidance from GLD about these. These should not be changed by the supplier. These have been put there to help to support the buyer.
Can you confirm that an award notice should be sent for all contracts over 25k for NHS and wider public sector? Why is this so low?
Right, we don't set this. It's Contracts Finder and whoever, I guess, Cabinet Office. But this is all set out in the latest PPN, which is PPN 01/23.
I believe reduced bespoke pricing can be offered and the supplier is able to make this available for a short period of time, i.e. 1 month, to enable the organisation to award under the reduced price. Is that correct?
Suppliers can offer a time-limited discount. They would need to get in touch with us, the G-Cloud team, showing track changes for us to review. But we will never dismiss a discount.
Can I ask suppliers to amend their T's and C's?
Suppliers are not allowed to amend their T's and C's at framework level. You can ask, but the supplier has a right to refuse.
There are lots of generic service offers on G-Cloud, especially from recruitment firms, e.g. project managers, BAs, etc. For any IT project, a link can always be made to cloud. What are the rules around this?
There are over 40,000 services, so some things can slip through. If you see a supplier that looks like their services is out of scope, please get in touch with us. We can investigate and make sure the service is in scope and help the supplier word this appropriately, or remove the service if in fact it is out of scope. At the point of application, the supplier chooses what categories they fall into, example, planning, training, ongoing support, etc.
Because lots 1 to 3 are for direct award only, we are not supposed to do any competition, RFP, RFQ, ITT, RFI, etc. Is there a way we can notify the shortlisted suppliers what we are looking for? Would this fall under the pre-engagement stage mainly?
I would say do pre-market engagement, and that should be carried out long before shortlisting.
G-Cloud contract template says if a buyer is a central government department and the contract term is intended to exceed 24 months, then under the spend controls process, prior approval must be obtained from the GDS. Is that correct? I.e. really 24 months, not 36?
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is not G-Cloud related. Spend controls are governed by others, i.e. the Cabinet Office. G-Cloud 13 has a term of up to 36 months with an optional extension of up to 12 months. But the onus will be on you to get the spend approval if it applies to you.
We are in the process of pre-market engagement with some suppliers and developing our list of requirements. Some suppliers have offered workshops to help us define our requirements for a new system. Is this allowed, ethical, considering this may give them unfair advantage in the process?
So pre-market engagement is allowed. You will still carry out your search and evaluate. So please ensure the suppliers that are helping you are aware that they know this might not mean they are awarded the contract.
Contract period up to 36 months. Does this imply that a call-off order initial term can, for example, 30 months plus one extension of 12 months?
Yep. Just stay within the parameters of 36 or the 12.
25. Can suppliers request site of the search criteria used for procurements of cloud software services to check that their G-Cloud 13 service listing description and features plus filters are optimized?
So suppliers can ask buyers, however, CCS does not hold this information. It would be up to the buyers if they want to share this information with you.
Contract length. Does it mean that if we sign up to 12 months initially, instead of 36 months, we can sign only one extension up to 12 months?
Yes, it is.
In the G-Cloud call-off order form, if Schedule 3 collaboration agreement and Schedule 4 alternative clauses is not applicable, can this be marked as not used in the final order form? This will save a number of pages.
Yeah, just put not applicable.
Can suppliers increase price, consider inflation for the 12 months extension?
So suppliers are not permitted to increase prices at any time unless a price review is agreed by both parties, i.e. buyer and supplier, prior to the award of a call-off contract. It's no good a supplier coming back after a year saying they want to talk about putting the prices up. It must be agreed, and it must be done prior to.
Are suppliers allowed to provide pricing in currency other than GBP?
Yep, suppliers can submit their prices under different currency, and you would take the conversion price of that day.
Does Lot 4 use same search process, or how does this work as it is further competition?
Right, so Lot 4 is totally different. It's a further competition. You would submit your requirements for suppliers to reply with their bids. There's no searching of it.
Is a 1 year plus 1 year plus 1 year call-off agreement compliant?
I don't know why this is so difficult for people to understand. The G-Cloud 13 term is up to 36 months and can be extended by one optional extension, which is up to 12 months. giving a maximum term of 48. There is no 1 + 1 + 1 + 1.
Thirty-three. Thanks for the response on liabilities, insurance, etc. Understand. So we can argue that the price is the price and that insurances are set when they accepted their G-Cloud agreement, so cannot be varied.
Yep, that's correct. Well, that is it. So thank you for listening. And this has been recorded. So if you need it, we can supply it. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.